The first presidential debate is right around the corner. Hello, I'm Justin Gitt.
And I'm Nick Palayo. The West Coast remains engulfed in flames as firefighters battle massive wildfires in California, Oregon, and Washington state. This is LTV News. In honor of the Lasallian call to work together and by association, the university has announced the creation of a joint commission on diversity, equity, and inclusion. According to the university, the joint commission is a collaborative effort to critically examine LaSalle's policies, procedures, practices, culture, and infrastructure. The staff, faculty, students, alumni, and university trustees that comprise the Joint Commission will then make recommendations as to ways LaSalle can foster a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive learning environment that better reflects the university's Lasallian Catholic heritage and values. The Commission's work will continue throughout the entire academic year.
A school-wide initiative called LaSalle Votes consists of faculty, staff, and students whose work is to register students to vote and to become active voters. This group has crafted syllabus language for faculty to include in their syllabi about students voting. Promoting voter engagement is an important part of our larger commitment to social justice and civic engagement. If you are interested in getting more information, register on the LaSalle Votes Canvas page to receive regular updates and announcements for events, activities, and tips that can be shared with students throughout the semester. If you have any questions about LaSalle Votes, please contact Dr. Kristen Rexing at rexing@lasalle.edu or Tara Carr-Lemke at carlemke@lasalle.edu.
I think this LaSalle Votes is a great idea. I think it's a great program. It's really important for people our age to really exercise the right to vote. I think a lot of times people who are 18, 19, 20, college-age students, they don't really think their vote matters. And I think this election of all elections is really important. I mean, regardless of who you vote for, we are finding ourselves in a time of immense change in this country, and so much is happening, and this election is going to be so paramount to where the direction our country goes. So I think I really commend LaSalle for trying to get students registered, know how to arrange for an absentee ballot, where do they need to go in person, to really make sure that they're getting out the vote.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This is such an important election. Again, Nick, as you said, no matter who you vote for. So I hope every student and faculty member gets out and exercises that right, because again, it's just so important.
Especially with our generation, everyone's voice matters since we're so young. Like, we are the future of this country. So it's very important that LaSalle students get out and vote.
You're so right. And also, I really have to commend the university for the creation of this joint commission to address diversity, equity, and inclusion issues at LaSalle. I mean, this is consisting of faculty, administration, staff, students, alumni, board of trustees. They're really including everybody, all groups at LaSalle, to really look at what's going on and to make recommendations. And I really think that's it's important given the time we're in, and I really am looking forward to their findings, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're discovering at LaSalle and the recommendations they're going to make. So I'm curious, because they're going to be working throughout the rest of this year. So I'm curious. Well, and speaking of the Joint Commission, our own fellow producer, Sam Long, had the opportunity to sit down with the president of the Student Government Association, CJ Patetti, to talk about the many programs and initiatives happening on LaSalle's campus and the way that SGA is getting involved with those. So check it out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Long, and I'm back this week for another interview. Today, I'm sitting down with SGA President CJ Patetti to talk about all kinds of stuff SGA is going to be doing this semester. So, CJ, thank you so much for joining me on Zoom. I wish the circumstances were a little different. You're a joy to talk to in person. But let's get right into it. Just the broad question, how is SGA operating online this semester? I know it's a lot different than what you guys are used to, but we're all interested to know.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. This is a great opportunity. But, you know, it's just been a learning curve. I started my presidency in April, and when I decided I was going to run for president in like February, the change of what I thought I was going to be getting into versus what we're doing now, you know, complete 180. I will say I think it's been going well. Our freshmen, new senators that are freshmen, they're really engaged despite some of them not even having lived on campus yet. We had our inauguration and our retreat last weekend, Friday and Saturday, and those went really well. Everybody was really engaged. We had some really good discussions, and we found some creative ways to kind of get around being over Zoom. So something we did was a little bit of like a show and tell to kind of get an idea of, you know, people's personalities, their interests, etc. So someone would pick up something that interests them. Like, for example, I picked this flag that was flown over the U.S. Capitol building that I got for getting my Eagle Scout. So I thought that was really cool. So everybody did something like that. And I thought that was a great way to engage over Zoom. But we're adjusting. I think we're doing a lot of really good work. So last semester we worked on, I personally got to help work on addressing students' concerns to the administration about pass-fail. So that ultimately got passed. And then over the summer, we got to work on COVID stuff with the university. So it's been really busy, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine how busy it's been. Even though you're not on campus, it seems like you guys are still keeping extremely busy. Before we recorded this, we talked about some things that SGA is going to be doing for the campus this semester.
Mm-hmm.
So a few of them that I picked out I thought were interesting. You guys are going to be doing a lot of archiving work for the university. So can you touch on what you'll be doing with that?
Yeah, so I'll touch on that. So our deputy chief of staff, our chief of staff to our vice president, her name's Emily Dorr, and she's a history major, is one of her majors. And she's going to be working on some archiving work for SGA to kind of because the university has a lot of records of what SGA has done over the years. And since we're online, we figured this would be a great time to do this and just get an idea of our history, different things we've done, you know, what was successful, what wasn't successful. And that, I think, positions us a lot better, especially, you know, when we're online. And I wouldn't say we're lost, but it could be easy to become lost just because, you know, we're not on campus. But she's been doing really good work working with the university archiving department, getting information. We saw a number of things SGA's worked on, which is really cool. And she's going to be looking at a number of other different facets of university life as well. So
now looking into that, going into that archiving work, you see anything pop up like in a project that SGA started maybe 10, 15 years ago that was never completed, and you guys look at that and you're like, wow, that's something we should definitely try to pick back up on. I feel like going through years of work, you're bound to find something like that.
Yeah, so actually last year, before all the COVID stuff and during some of the security concerns that students were having 2 years ago now, I think 1 or 2 years ago, we came up with a student security escort system to make sure people were walking in groups. It would kind of be like Uber, but student volunteers would walk people places. That way everybody's walking in a group, nobody's walking alone. And we would hope that would be a bit of a crime deterrent. And we had a full proposal laid out, and we worked on that. Obviously, we can't do much with it now that COVID came around. But we found a very close proposal from 1990. And I heard little bits about it when in the process of creating this current proposal. And there's a lot of similarities, but obviously there's a lot of differences, as there wasn't smartphones in 1990. And the new program would hinge a lot on smartphone use to call people, find out where people are, to be able to walk you places. But I think that was something that stuck out for me personally.
Now, you guys are also doing a lot of work on your SGA Instagram. Can you describe some of the stuff you guys have been posting on there? I know there's a lot of initiatives going on. Can you describe some of them?
Yeah, sure. So a big one that I think was really successful last week and the week before, we did a suicide awareness week. So we went over a lot of different suicide statistics, a lot of different facets surrounding that. And we went over a lot of different ways, checking in on people, how to care for people, and trying to prevent that type of thing, because it's something that affects everybody, that issue. So that was really successful. A few of our SGA members worked on that, and I think it was really great. So that was a big one. We've been posting other things here and there, like mental health. We're going to be working on some different things coming up, like some of the issues in China, some of the human rights issues in China, so stay tuned for that. Those are the big ones. We have a lot more planned coming soon. We're always moving. We're always talking. We have a lot of different minds that have different things that I think we can bring attention to and try to move the needle on. Over the summer, we did a lot of anti-racism work following the murder of George Floyd. So we released a video and a statement. And our director of diversity, equity, and inclusion, Christian Camacho, has been working with his team and coming up with a lot of different ideas as well in the months since.
Now, you talked about diversity problems. There was a post you guys had last week about recent Zoom bombings that were happening. Can you talk about that a little bit and what SGA is doing or proposing just to make sure that doesn't happen with anyone at LaSalle?
Yeah, so So we posted a statement. I think it was a really good statement. Obviously, that was completely 100% unacceptable. You can't do that. The school, I think, is saying, I can't speculate, of course. I think they're actively looking for the person who might have done it. Whether it was a student that sent out their Zoom code to someone, a random Zoom bomber from online, etc. We don't know yet. Regardless, the action itself is, 100% not tolerated on this campus. So that's something we wanted to make sure of in our post, that, we're standing with the people that were affected by such a thing. And we do, from what I understand, they were using a fake name. So the big takeaway, and I want to make sure that everybody knows this, is try to let your professors know. You don't have to, pester them about it, but, gentle reminders of using Zoom passwords and meeting rooms, because that way somebody who's using a fake name won't be able to get into the room. Whoever's running the room will be able to tell, etc. So always use an identifiable name, and always try to have Zoom waiting rooms.
Yeah, I think those are all great tips to stop it from happening again.
Mm-hmm.
So, as someone's going to be talking about in this episode, you guys have another initiative called LaSalle Votes going on. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the most important things you guys are doing this semester, definitely. Mm-hmm. Would you be able to tell the listeners just a little bit about that?
Votes is independent of SGA, but SGA is very much involved with it. So that's being run by Tara Karlemke. And the goal of it is to try to get voter engagement and voter turnout at LaSalle University up to 100%. We're really high right now. We're higher than most schools in the city and the state. So we would just want to keep that going.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, CJ. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you so much for this opportunity. This was great.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure hearing about all the stuff you guys are doing this semester. So thank you again, and I'm going to send it back over to the desk.
On Tuesday, September 15th, President Trump arrived in Philadelphia to take part in an ABC News town hall called The President and the People. The town hall was held at the National Constitution Center and was hosted by ABC News chief anchor George Stephanopoulos. The people in attendance were from Pennsylvania and either voted for the president in 2016, voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, or were unsure of who they will vote for in November. The town hall practiced social distancing, and everyone in the audience had to wear a mask. Voters asked the president questions ranging from his response to the coronavirus, healthcare, race relations, and his recent comment on our military. Stephanopoulos pressed the president further on many of the questions asked, and President Trump would not go into further detail. The town hall location is not only historically significant, but represents a key city in a state that could tilt the balance of the Electoral College.
Starting on Monday, September 14th, international flights were again able to fly out of the Philadelphia International Airport. At the beginning of the pandemic, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention chose certain international airports to be screening centers for international travelers arriving to the United States, and Philadelphia was not one of them. While there are still regulations on which countries U.S. citizens can travel to, this is certainly a step in the right direction.
The Philadelphia homeless encampment at 22nd and Ben Franklin Parkway is not going anywhere, at least not for a while. Mayor Jim Kenney and city officials gave another deadline of Wednesday, September 9th for people at the encampment to leave by 9 a.m. that morning. The city stipulated that it would dismantle the encampment. However, when a small group of police from the Civil Affairs Division arrived, they were met by activists who set up barricades and adopted a confrontational stance. The city had to let September 9th's deadline pass and have declined to say what's next in the continuing standoff. Mayor Jim Kenney said, "We have no comment on when we are going to move. We are trying to do it the way we have been doing it, in a non-forceful way." Residents of the encampment even made a sign and invited Mayor Kenney to have brunch with them to have a conversation on how to move forward.
This week, PATCO opened up 4 closed stations in hopes of restoring normal operation. PATCO's Ashland, Westmont, City Hall, and 12th and 13th Street stations had been closed since March 28th as part of their COVID-19 response. All 4 stations reopened Monday. During the closures, crews completed an elevator installation project at the stations. In an announcement from PATCO, they said, "As more riders return to PATCO, we will be evaluating our approach and strategies relating to every aspect of how our service is delivered." PATCO General Manager John Rank said, "Our goal now is to ensure our service provides enough capacity so that there is enough room on platforms and trains to facilitate appropriate social distancing."
Nick, Aaron, the town hall between President Trump and uncommitted voters took place, as we heard in our stories last week, and it was really interesting. You had the president at the National Constitution Center with ABC chief anchor George Stephanopoulos. This was an ABC News town hall, the people and the president. And, it was very interesting to hear some of the questions that voters had. These were voters from Pennsylvania. Some voted for Hillary Clinton. Some voted for President Trump. And then some are still on the fence. The president, whether he answered these questions really, that's another story. I know George kind of had to press the president for more of an answer. But overall, I think it was a really good opportunity for the president to have this one-on-one in this COVID world with these uncommitted voters.
Yeah, I really think what was I caught the beginning of the town hall. I think it was interesting how no question was off limits. Voters were allowed to ask President Trump literally anything, and I think they did. I think right out of the gate they pressed him on his COVID response, and they pressed him on what the country was doing and what his plans were moving forward. As we're seeing, the COVID-19 crisis is not over. We are not back to normal. We are still facing rising levels of infections, deaths. This is not going away anytime soon. There are talks of a vaccine. I believe it was the AstraZeneca, the AstraZeneca trial started back up again after it had paused because of somebody who had gotten sick. And they weren't sure if it was related to the vaccine or not. But long story short, the virus is still not going away. So President Trump and his administration are still up against this public health threat. So they hit that issue right out of the gate. And I know they pressed him on other issues as well. And I think it's really helpful when you have uncommitted voters who last election voted either way to come and speak to the president. I think that's democracy at its finest right there. The people speaking to its leaders. So in the town hall, we're seeing a couple of other things open up. Obviously, we have PHL, a very international airport, sending out international flights again. PATCO is resuming some of its service. So in that respect, a little bit of normalcy is coming back. But I think we'll just have to wait and see.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. Exactly.
That's right.
I'm excited about international flights coming back to Philadelphia because, as you both know, I had to come home early from study abroad in London in March, and I probably was like on one of the last flights to come back into Philadelphia from that area. So it's kind of great to see, international travel begin slowly again.
Yeah. What would have happened if you hadn't made it on that flight back?
I I don't know. I mean, I know the school was going to let us stay a while. I don't know how long that would have lasted. I probably would have had to rely on some people from the internship that I did because that was a news organization, so they probably would have been able to kind of help me get back home. But I'm lucky I did get out when I did.
Thank God
Yeah,
Justin didn't get stuck in
yeah,
London.
hop. Maybe they have some contacts in the DoD. Hop a military flight home.
I don't know what we would have done without him.
No, that would not have been good.
President Donald Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden will meet on September 29th for their first presidential debate. The debate will take place at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, and the Commission on Presidential Debates has announced that Fox News anchor Chris Wallace will moderate. The debate is expected to last over an hour, with both candidates being asked a variety of questions about the issues. The second debate will take place on October 15th at the Arch Center in Miami with C-SPAN's political editor, Steve Scully, as moderator. The third and final debate will take place on October 22nd at Belmont University in Nashville and will be moderated by NBC News White House correspondent Kristen Welker. There will also be one vice presidential debate on October 7th between Vice President Pence and Democratic vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris. All eyes will be on these debates and their interaction on the debate stage.
President Trump has been nominated for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize for brokering the recent peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The far-right Norwegian politician Christian Tybring-Gjedde submitted Trump's name in recognition of his role in a deal that will see Israel halt its effort to annex part of the West Bank. This is the second time President Trump has received a nomination. In 2018, he received a nomination from the same Norwegian politician for efforts to bring peace to the Korean Peninsula. The winner of the 2021 prize will not be known until next October and will be selected by a 5-person Nobel committee selected by the Norwegian parliament.
Everyone loves those sugary and cute holiday treats known as marshmallow peeps. But unfortunately, Just Born, the company that produces this beloved candy, just announced that there will be no production of holiday peeps in 2020. Typically available for Halloween and all of the holidays following, they will not be sold in stores this year. The company released a statement saying, "Due to the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, we temporarily suspended production of our candy brands to ensure the health and safety of our associates. Unfortunately, this means no Peeps pumpkins, ghosts, trees, snowmen, and more this year. While there will be no Peeps for the rest of 2020, Just Born announced that they intend to begin production again in 2021. We have been bringing sweetness to people's lives since 1923, and we hope to continue to do so for many years to come. Stay tuned to see Peeps back on the shelves in your local grocery stores next year."
The West Coast is ablaze as massive wildfires continue to threaten California, Oregon, and Washington state in what has been an overactive wildfire year. In California, roughly 3.2 million acres, about the size of Connecticut, have been lost since the beginning of this year. The other numbers are just as staggering. Over 16,500 firefighters are hard at work battling the nearly 30 individual wildfires that have left close to 25 people dead and over 4,200 structures destroyed. And that's just in California. Hundreds of thousands of individuals have been subject to forced evacuations and power outages as the blazes continue to rage. Many say this year's overactive fires are shedding a light on the detrimental effects of climate change, as record-shattering temperatures and little rainfall are said to have contributed to the ignition and continued spread of these fires.
Fans of the hit 90s show The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air will have an opportunity to stay in the show's iconic house. In a team-up with Airbnb, fans who live in Los Angeles County will be able to book a one-night stay in the mansion. During their stay, fans will be able to see where Will Smith's character lived, full of props and callbacks to the show. Dates are limited, so fans should jump to book a stay on October 2nd, October 5th, October 8th, October 11th, or October 14th.
So, Aaron, what is up with these holiday peeps? What's going on?
This is very disappointing news in our world. There is no holiday peeps, and these are everybody's favorite holiday snacks. They have different themed ones for all different holidays. Christmas trees, snowmen, bunnies, chicks. None of them this year.
I'm so upset about this. I love, I know at Halloween they have the pumpkins and the chocolate cats, and then, as you were saying, they have winter. I mean, it's just so disappointing. I mean, peeps are like everything.
How do you guys feel about them? Are you guys big fans?
I'm not really a Peeps fan. I think just the fact that the Peeps aren't there.
Yeah.
It's like it's part of the holiday, part of Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Yeah. And speaking of Halloween, I know we didn't cover this in our stories, but something that's been developing is this whole, Halloween's coming up. Mm-hmm. And in the age of COVID-19, what's going to happen? I think I've seen some pretty ingenious ideas. Either people are going to like reverse trick or treat, where like people are going to like drive past houses and throw candy out their cars, or they're going to like put it on a pole and like reach out their house and like take some. Or
that's very
someone
creative,
built like I don't know if you saw on social media, someone built like a candy chute where they attached it to the railing and they're just going to like drop candy down the chute at the kids below.
I just hope there's no virtual trick-or-treating. That would just
be
super weird and different, and I just would not be able to handle that.
Some things just can't be virtual unless you can send me candy through the screen.
At least LaSalle TV can be virtual, right?
Yeah, at least we can still share the news virtual. You can't trick-or-treat virtual, though.
I don't think so.
And there's no peeps. What is going on?
Well, hopefully the peeps will be back next year in 2021 for the Easter season, and everybody can resume eating their favorite sugary holiday treat.
That does it for this episode of LTV News. Keep up with our continuing coverage and the entire LaSalle TV network online for our LaSalle TV Philly YouTube page.
Until next time, for Sam Long, Aaron Holly, and Justin Gick, I'm Nick Palayo. Stay well, and remember, wear a mask.